Thank you, Mr. Kasparov, for joining our show. What do you think about the latest crisis between Russia and Turkey? Do you think escalating the situation with Turkey works for the Russian interest?
I would be very clear in separating the interest of Mr. Putin and his regime and the interest of my country. Naturally, destroying relations, working relations, business relations, cultural relations with Russia and Turkey will have a hugely detrimental effect for Russia and for the whole region, of course, itself. That Putin needs escalation, he needs enemies, because that's the way his propaganda works at home. And unfortunately, I see no way of improving the situation as long as Mr. Putin stays in power.
So how long do you think Russia can pursue its aggressive expansionism in the Middle East and Eastern Europe?
I'm afraid that Putin has no other options but to escalate the situation, because domestic situation is so bad, economy has been deteriorating, living standards are falling steadily, and Putin needs aggression. Putin needs more food, more drugs, actually, for his propaganda machine in Russia. So that's why I expect him to become more aggressive with every day.
So you think that Putin's domestic authoritarian policies have an effect on the shaping of Russia's foreign policy, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why he looked for, for opportunity to attack Ukraine, to invade Crimea and Eastern Ukraine, and that's why he ended up in Syria, because he needs to show his virtual victories to Russian people. He needs to show that he is the big boss who can compensate for disastrous economic situation in Russia by these virtual foreign policy victories.
Do you think Russia's Middle East policies create a vigilance among its own native Muslim population?
I can hardly say, what is really happening inside Russia among Russian Muslim population, because unfortunately, most of religious leaders in Russia, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Christian, or whether they're Jews, they are all working with Kremlin. So that's why we hear only the in public. We hear only official views, and of course, all of them are supporting Putin. While I suspect that Russian Muslim population is not happy at all with this aggressive, counterproductive policies in the Middle East.
In an earlier interview, you said that Assad and Putin do profitable business with ISIS. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Recently, we saw the report of U.S. State Treasury naming several Russians, including the president of Chess Federation, Mr. Ilumzhinov, as a part of a group that facilitated the oil business between ISIS and Assad. And for me, it was clear from the very beginning that ISIS had to do business with one major player in the region. And I think it's now we're receiving proofs every day that it's not just oil business, but naturally it's energy, since all the hydropower stations are controlled by ISIS, but energy still give ISIS service of mobile operator.
But on the other hand, Putin is right now bombing Syria on the grounds that he's claiming that he's fighting against ISIS.
Oh, but when we hear Putin, we should remember that he always, as a good KGB agent, he uses every opportunity to lie and to hide his plans, and he has been lying all the time. He told us there was no Russian troops in Crimea. Then he refuted himself, saying, yes, of course there were troops in Crimea. Now he confessed after almost 18 months of aggression in Ukraine that there were Russian military personnel in Ukraine, Eastern Ukraine. And of course, we know by looking simply at the pictures, devastating pictures from several Syrian cities, that Putin's bombs dropped not on ISIS but on anti-Assad opposition, and of course one of the parties suffering from these heinous crimes committed by Putin's troops in Syria are people living in the northwest of Syria. Those are very closely connected to Turkey.
And my final question is, Mr. Kasparov, do you think Putin is a good chess player?
No, I don't think Putin, as any dictator, is a good chess player, because when you play chess, you have all information in front of you. Chess is a 100% transparent game. And the dictators, they always like to play, tricky games, and they don't want to reveal their cards. So that's why I would rather call Putin a very good poker player, because he plays poker, and even if he has weak hand, he always is willing to raise the stakes. And unfortunately, I have to say that the leaders of the free world, and mainly, I'm talking about U.S. administration, Barack Obama, they are always giving up. And Putin knows that no matter how bad is his hand and how high is the risk for him, that his opponents will fold the cards. So that's why I'm afraid that countries in the region like Turkey and Saudi Arabia, Jordan and Israel, they have to rely on their own, because there's very little chance that as long as Obama stays in the office, there will be any meaningful American participation in the Syrian disaster.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kasparov. We very much appreciate your contribution.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Bye.